Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and we've got a fun episode. We've already been talking pre-show about all the things happening around the world with each and every one of our investor guests today. And so I won't take too much time in the introduction, but we are going to be talking about business inclusion today. This is a very important topic, not just to our investors who will be speaking today, but in general. How do we welcome more individuals around the world, not only in emerging markets, but all markets, into the world of business, whether it be starting a business, raising capital, or more opportunities as well. And I'll leave it there as our guests have a ton to share. And I want to make sure we've got maximum time today as well. And a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. If you're liking what you hear, click subscribe. Make sure you check out the archive, as well as we have all the episodes of 2020 explaining everything that was happening, along with predictions of what's about to happen here this year around 2021 in different technologies, industries, and regions around the world, and have brought the best and the brightest to share their on-the-ground perspective around these areas, as we're about to do today as well in this episode. And if you'd like to join us in future episodes, reach out to the team and or myself. We'll find the right spot for you. And entrepreneurs, what better way to get included in the world of business, whether you're starting or you're fundraising, than joining us here on the virtual stage at VCTV to pitch us your company, product, or service, get real-time feedback, build relationships, and exposure to our entire live audience here at VCTV. Again, reach out to the team and or myself. We'll find the right spot for you. Speaking of team, a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for bringing all of us together and making sure VCTV is possible and happens every single day, and tries to make us all look good as I'm messing up this introduction this morning. So apologies, Maria, but a big thank you to the team. Let's go ahead and get started as your host today. Kicking us off, a longtime friend that we're so happy to welcome back here on the show. Peter, welcome back. A little intro and a little background.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for putting me on the spot. I was just going to dip into some popcorn because Wendy made some, and I had to buy the cheaper version here. No joke. I have it right here in my bowl. But since you made me talk, I will start an intro. So I'm from the Weimer family office. We're based in London and Denmark. We're a six-family, multi-billion-dollar family office. We have tens of billions of capital divided up among the six families. Our core investment strategy is real estate around the globe. We also invest in alternative energy, oil and gas, natural resources. On the technology side, we're always looking for interesting and innovative impact investing, particularly when it comes to the hospitality space, care homes, et cetera, where new technology due to the COVID situation will be required for investments going forward, particularly as we look at the millennial generation and the hotels they want to stay at. Technology is going to be key. And also the directive in the EU for carbon neutrality by 2050, with many countries having mandates as early as 2030, has a very important impact on the way we look at investments for the people that we and companies that we make investments with. Kyle, minimum size is about 150 million to several billion. And so obviously, given the size and nature, we rival some of the largest credit funds and private equity funds. We obviously need to be very careful in terms of those investment decisions that we make across those asset classes.
Absolutely. And pleasure to have you back. You and the Weimer family too. What you guys do is so impactful around the world, and we're excited to dive into that and also open up how that plays a role into business inclusion as a bigger picture as well. So thank you, Peter. Welcome back here on VCTV. Again, it's a great pleasure to see you. Next up, Wendy, as Peter tossed it to you about popcorn. I know you got popcorn. It's going to be a show today, so I'll let you kick us off next. A little intro, a little background.
Thank you, Kyle. Hey, Peter. Wow, this is so much fun. Okay, so first off, I'm Wendy Diamond. I love this topic, inclusive. That includes women and, of course, all over the world. And I am the founder of Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization, founded in 2013, when I realized literally the importance of empowering women in business, because if we can do that, we can alleviate poverty. We're now in 144 countries, recognized by US Congress and Mayor Garcetti and Governor Cuomo and all over the world. And our whole goal is to celebrate, empower, and support women in business, and especially women entrepreneurs, because it's called Women's Entrepreneurship Day. I'm also a limited partner in 3 funds that are focused on Bitcoin and blockchain and investing in disruptive technology companies. Those include Block Tower Capital, Coin Fund, and Crescent Capital. And I'm also a seed investor in women-led companies, as well as really super impactful disruptive technology companies. Thank you for having me.
I love it. I feel like I'm going to be using the heart emoji all episode. There's so much good stuff and good feels being put out by this panel today. So thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Peter. Jose, the man of many hats, looking good today. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Kyle. First, before I kick off, I would like to welcome everybody to 2021. So this is definitely a very exciting year to all my friends here on LATOKEN and VCTV, and also to all the spectators that we have today watching the show. So my name is Jose Grasa. I've been a serial entrepreneur, active serial entrepreneur now for more or less like 4 decades. Became a business angel, then VC. I've been an advisor for government, also for some venture capital companies. Have been investing in the last 2 decades, essentially in technology, which is the area that I mostly like. And in the last 5 years, actively investing in this topic of business inclusion, which is something that it's coming to my heart. And I'm really excited to be on this panel today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jose. I mean, speaking of this being so close, that you actually brought this to our attention. This particular topic. It is so close to you. It's a great topic that we're going to continue to dive in here more on VCTV as well. So thank you very much, Jose. Lubna, welcome back. It's been a few minutes since we've seen each other. A little short introduction and background on your side.
Hi, it's great to be here and with so many fantastic friends. I'm Lubna Dajani. My background is in systems analysis and design, and my interest is in where technology meets humanity. I have been a career-long focused on innovation and how taking it out of the lab in implementation. So I have firsthand experience in the causes of inclusion, of diversity. So I've been a champion of the cause and a coach to Springboard Enterprises for some 15 years maybe or so by now. And I am also a coach and on the advisory board for the Horizon 2020 Next Generation Internet Trust, the Next Generation Internet Trust project within the NGI Trust, also with SOSV Ventures. And delighted to be here again. And this is, as you know, regeneration, and this topic is at the heart of who I am. So,
absolutely, and even happy to have you. And even with SOSV, I personally know them as well, and also have co-invested, and they do some wonderful things around today's topic as well, with many other funds and accelerator programs. So thank you, Lubna, for bringing that to our attention as well. Brett, to you quickly, a little intro, little background. Maybe we've got a special guest there. I see him kind of walking around. Welcome back.
Yes, Brett Noyce. Of course, we just have a disaster as we start this. Founder and director of Unventures. We're an early stage investor syndicate consisting of about 500 VCs that we send to deals on a weekly basis. Prior work, we had an Unbanked Ventures, which was a fintech incubator program primarily focused on financial inclusion globally. And by happenstance of where we stood in the ecosystem, we had a very diverse group of entrepreneurs that we worked with, because we worked with entrepreneurs before they were getting into the bigger program. So a large portion of our work was really about getting kind of underrepresented entrepreneurs into the best, accelerator programs and helping them raise capital. And this is Davis. He'll be creating much trouble throughout the show today.
Again, our new machine learning expert, by the way, one of the youngest, but one of the most up-to-date on the world. If you didn't see our previous episode of machine learning today here on VCTV, check it out in the archive as well. Thank you, Brett. Gary Fowler, welcome back. Quick introduction, a little background.
Yeah, so my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I lived in Russia 14 years and started the first accelerator in Russia and the #1 private corporate accelerator. Done 17 companies, been involved in 2 unicorns. Love artificial intelligence. and love impact investing and also the democratization of opportunities on a global basis. I'm the CEO, co-founder, and president of GSD, Get Stuff Done, Kyle, Venture Studios, since we have a younger person here today, very young. And yeah, we love AI and quantum computing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary, and welcome back. Last but not least, Irina, welcome and happy new year to you as well. Joining us with a new background today, a little intro, a little background.
Yes, happy new year. It's such a pleasure to see you, Kyle, and all of you guys. What a great way to start the year. And, you know, look at us already and excited to crush it this year. Irina Litchfield, many know me as a crypto superwoman. I'm a founder of Blockchain Cubed. Blockchain Cubed is infrastructure design, technology infrastructure design of blockchain, and also integration companies. So we take non-crypto people and integrate them into the crypto world, which is very relevant for this year. So anyhow, just saying, yeah. We go in cycles, you know, this is definitely the up cycle for the crypto world. Anyhow, I'm also president of Lumeria. Lumeria is where capital meets innovation. We are IR company, and our goal is to democratize investments and opportunities for investors and people all over the world. And it's just such a pleasure to be here and talking about this topic of discussion today is just really relevant to me and very personable.
Absolutely. I mean, it's I think important to all of us, as we've all come from somewhere, starting our own companies or helping other companies grow. But each of you have mentioned also different technologies that truly over the last year, and even more so over the last decade, have opened doors and pathways for many individuals to start businesses or welcome in new entrepreneurs as well. And Irina closing us out with blockchain and crypto as well. We've seen that world kind of open and flourish in 2020, and we'll see where that goes here in 2021. But Jose, I'm going to turn it over to you. But before you unmute, real quick, I do want to open the today's discussion for you, because again, this topic is so important. You brought the term business inclusion to us here at VCTV. Start us off as to what business inclusion is and what it means for 2021. And then Wendy, I'm coming right over to you and we'll play Celebrity Squares afterwards.
Thank you, Kyle. So I will try to do the best explanation of what it is. So let me put it like this. We have on a global scale, more or less 45 million people kicking off with some kind of a startup. Those individuals, 99% don't fit into any investment criteria to start with. And on the other hand, they build up what they call a business which is relying in their comfort zone, which typically is a traditional business. So if you look at the offer and the demand, it's very spread out, because professional investors like myself, you know, we like to tend to go for the cream of the cream, and we make a thorough selection. And at the end, what happens is, if you look at the demand, we basically touch more or less like 0.003% of all demand that is on the market. So that means that a huge amount of talent that is out there, and people with a lot of will, they just fall out. And there is no way they can come back and build that business in a normal way, because they lack of two things, two ingredients, which eventually makes all the rest happen. One is that they come from traditional labor families, so they are not very wealthy. They don't have the cash to be able to finance a business stage, which is typically up to 3 years. And the other thing is that when they kick off, they don't have any knowledge about how to build a business, because also we don't have business universities. Now, we have accelerators today and we have incubators, but the problem is the amount of accelerators that we have and the incubators, you know, it's just a drop in the ocean. We are talking about a huge amount of individuals in lots of millions that simply are not able to get to the market and get an answer to their needs. So this brought us to a challenge, a very big challenge. And we said, okay, so the only way to solve this, and that's why I've been investing into this area, which business inclusion is, what I would like to say is, for the next 5 to 10 years, the area okay, that will have a high demand. It's not limited to any country or any part of the globe or to any background from anybody. It's basically a global issue that we have on our hands. And the issue is that we need to have an ecosystem that enables these individuals to be able to build up a business with almost no cash and bring them to very fast cash flow projections, free cash flows, because that's the only way they will be able to survive. Now, if they reach that point, let's say in 6 months, which is a very, very fast speed, and they have both of these things, then suddenly they become either credit worthy, they can get a loan from a bank, or they can eventually apply for an investment from a professional investor because they are generating revenues and it's a more comfortable zone. So what we do at BizMoney is, in essence, creating this field of cropping that we are doing with a huge amount of people, that eventually we move forward to the professional investors community later on, and that they don't fall off, because the numbers that have been statistically proven are really dramatic. There are some countries that can have a die out of between 95 and 99% in the first year. You cannot even imagine that, right? In the US, as an example, that percentage is much better, but still, you know, it's a minimum of 75%. So this is the problem. It's a $4 to $6 trillion market, recurring on a global scale, a lot of potential, and definitely this is the area that I'm interested in. That's why we are doing this, to help people out. So this works with a lot of technology, in essence, artificial intelligence, blockchain, machine learning. But I would like to listen to what my other panel members have to say about this subject, because, you know, I am the guy who knows the details, but maybe they have another view on business inclusion.
Well, thank you, Jose, for kicking us off and explaining that in detail as well. And Wendy, I want to come over to you to add on to that, but also you do so much with the Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization and some of the other efforts that you have investing in other technologies and also women founders as well. So business inclusion, what does it mean to you? What does it mean for 2021 as we look to the year ahead?
So, you know, looking at, like, you know, where we are today and, you know, with this economic turmoil, you know, due to COVID-19, you know, the most affected, and what we know that, and when we were talking about like the world's issues and who's really affected during this time, is minorities and women, right? They've been the hardest hit economically. And so really, I believe investing in women, which is why I created Women's Entrepreneurship Day in 2013, because at that time, you know, only 1% of venture dollars were funding women entrepreneurs. I mean, and that, you know, even to this day, it's gone up, you know, more than double, which is 2.7%. So as you see, you know, that is a pathetic number. Right. So by investing and including women in these, in investing in them, because they've been historically underfunded, you know, underrepresented, et cetera, that I think this is more than ever the time to do it. And as you see right now in the last, you know, few years alone, hundreds of companies and funds have been started to funding minorities as well as women. Also, I don't know if you guys saw this past year, it's pretty cool actually. Some of the biggest companies in the world pledged $100 million to hire 1 million Black workers. And these were chief executives from like Merck and Nike and Walmart, that they all came together to do this, right? And what they're doing is they're investing that $100 million in a startup called 110 with the, you know, with this mission that they're going to be hiring 1 million Black workers, right? I mean, so you've got a lot of these little initiatives, these are big, initiatives that are happening around the world. And as we've seen also with a bunch of, you know, women angel groups, I know Lubna is very involved with Springboard, which I know Kay, and all these amazing funds that have coming up. You've also got UBS, you've got JP Morgan, you've got Goldman Sachs, which they just recently launched GS with $500 million, right? That they're investing in diverse teams, right? So when we're looking at the world, all these big companies, everybody, you're seeing a lot more investment, but it's still not enough, because as I mentioned, you know, that when you look at 2.7% of funds are invested in women. I mean, out of 100, that's really scary, right? And, clearly, there was a report by McKinsey that just came out also that, diverse teams that had, in companies are 21% more likely to outperform profitability. That's huge, 21%, right? And also it's 27% more that they said create more superior value creation for those companies. So when we look at the data and you look at the stats and everything, there's nothing better than investing in diverse teams and investing in women. And, regarding Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization, because of this, a lot all over the world, we've partnered with, the government of Saudi Arabia, funding 60,000 women in that country. We partnered with Mayor Garcetti in Los Angeles, where they've created a fund to support women entrepreneurs there. So by bringing awareness and supporting and celebrating and empowering women, we could truly change the world for the better.
Absolutely. Thank you, Wendy. And Lubna, I'm going to toss it over to you. Wendy brought you up in her answer there. I want to turn it over to you around business inclusion. What does it mean?
But
go ahead.
But I need to you need to pass me just so that I can take time to go, man, I'm so excited to just be here with not everybody else, but also having actually met Wendy here for the first time, even though we've been in each other's words for so long. So I'm overflowing with gratitude. So I have almost nothing else to say, but I'm very happy to be here.
No worries. I can give you applause. I mean, the gratitude is flowing. And to your point, I mean, we bring so many people here together at VCTV. It's awesome to see everyone connect, to be honest.
But in truth, but in reality, everything that Wendy has said and everything that Jose has explained is it goes to the heart of why I keep talking about regeneration and this idea of taking technology, putting it into and knowledge into these regeneration pods, taking them in and dropping them into micro communities where you can have grassroots regeneration, seeping through this pod what is needed to regenerate that community, that environment, and that hyper-local economy. And then the overflow, like rings of society, or like when you drop a rock into water, how it echoes, would echo the value. And as your I think as we start bringing the light of different technologies, different cultures together, it's like discovering purple by bringing your red and someone else's blue. Or if you like orange, maybe you'll bring it red and yellow. But I think you know what I'm saying. And with that, we can, have a lot more color and a much better future for ourselves, rather than that grim thing we left behind.
Absolutely. And we'll call that 2020. But since we're here in 2021, I want to come all the way. Thank you, Lubna, to Gary. I mean, Gary, you founded a fund, you have an accelerator, but specifically you have a fund focused around the underserved and diversity as well. But looking at business inclusion and here in 2021, how do you see that shaping? How do you see kind of your role as an investor playing in that as well?
Well, I mean, Kyle, that's what VCTV is all about, isn't it? I mean, the key is, well, you got to go out. I mean, one thing that we do is that every person that I meet on these panels, literally, we go out and set up time to talk to them. And the reason is because there's so many opportunities around the world that are underserved. I've spoken recently to people, South Africa, Uganda, Nigeria, incredible startups, Africa, Northern Africa, Australia. I'm just thinking about in the last 2 days. And it's just, it's amazing the opportunities. I had originally thought, being from working in Silicon Valley, that Silicon Valley is the epicenter, the Athens of the information age. That's true in a sense, but the opportunities are really spread out now. The democratization of opportunities, and now with the digital transformation, it's really come true. And so we're looking everywhere. And the thing is, yet those companies are underserved because they don't know how to do it. And they're in these far off areas with incredible technologies. They've really regionally dominated, and they haven't been able to move forward. So, I've been involved in inclusion and impact investing for some time. My accelerator in Russia, when we got started with it, we actually funded half of the class for female entrepreneurs. And some of those female entrepreneurs have had the most successful startups in Russia. And so we did it. And here, an American over in Russia, people say, oh, you can't do it as an American. You're in Russia. Well, we did. And so it's always people say, no, you can't do it. And then on the impact investing side, the Black community, I started 13 years ago with a friend of mine that's an actor. And I said, well, I don't understand it. I mean, why aren't there more Black executives? And he said, it's not only because of the inclusion, it's because when you go into the hood, the last thing they're thinking about is tech. They're thinking about basketball and football and other kind of things. Okay, so great. So how do we do it? So I put on the board of GSD, which is my company, one of the members of the NAACP, Lamel McMorris, one of the most successful Blacks in America, to be able to help, because we got to reach out. Listen, there's always a bridge. With Russia was a bridge, with Africa now it's a bridge, with Australia, some are minor, some are major. You got to build the bridge. And both people want to go in both directions to be able to help. And if it's a one-way street, it doesn't work. So it works and from an investment perspective, and I've had these conversations in great detail. It's not about entitlement. It's about how we can create a successful, profitable company to make it sustainable. And so that's really where it is. And I'm encouraged, I'm enlightened. I love what's happened from the positive standpoint over the last year with the digital transformation, because it's given us a reach out to places we weren't able to go before. And now having the platforms like, and I'm saying this I'm not trying to stroke you. I'm telling you directly with VCTV, this is a brilliant idea coming up with this so early in the game, because this is the way it's going to be played going forward. And now people understand how much more efficient and effective it is, and how much of a time optimization is. You can cut down time. Now, trust is another issue, because in Silicon Valley, when we raise money, you go down to Hobie's on El Camino Real. Literally, that's the place where I go with folks, or the Sundance if we've closed the deal and it's, we want to really celebrate. But that's where you would do the deals. But that doesn't happen now. And yet they have mandates. So what we got to do is just, as Steve Jobs says, we got to think differently. So I'm encouraged. The democratization opportunity is not all there yet. And by the way, it's never going to be done. It's always, we're going to strive to do the best, but not everybody's going to be included. What we have to do is strive to do the best we can do and create sustainable, interesting, profitable businesses.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gary. And Peter, I want to come to you next on this as well. I mean, talking with everybody, and then Irina, I'm going to close with you. I've got a very special question for you. But Peter, I want to come to you. I mean, business inclusion, what does that mean for you, the family offices that you work with, but just in general, as you look towards the year ahead, and how we can improve on that as well?
Well, first of all, I got to tell you, I'm honored to be on a panel with Wendy and Gary, as well as everybody else. But most importantly, I mean, Wendy and Gary are clearly changing the world one person at a time. And it's just so noteworthy. And, it truly warms my heart when I hear Wendy speaking and I see things that she's doing. It's just truly amazing. And then when I actually see the on the ground practical rather than the bigger picture stuff that Gary's doing, it's truly is amazing. And just a huge shout out to them. Talking about diversity, inclusiveness, and such, tomorrow we're going to see headlines across the globe that the Democratic Party in the U.S. controls both houses of Congress, and we have a Democratic president, and therefore we have an unprecedented time to move things forward with a big shout out to diversity and inclusion and all that stuff. Okay. And the reality of the situation is, while that's great, half of the country voted for Trump. The other half voted for Biden. The election runoff in the Senate in Georgia was so narrow. Everything was so narrow. You have a country that's completely divided. So you cannot look to government to solve the problems. We had a black president with President Obama. There was so much hope back then. Really, nothing happened. So the only way that we could see diversity and inclusiveness is on the ground, one person at a time, with things that are Wendy are doing, Gary's doing similarly. And hopefully, Wendy brought up the CEOs of big companies. I hope it filters down. I see a lot on LinkedIn from some of the biggest private equity funds, hedge funds, and corporates, or is it just sexy to talk about right now? We'll have to see how it actually works on the ground. But more importantly, in terms of building that bridge, it does start. It starts when kids are very young. And here at Weimer, Pear has done a tremendous amount of philanthropic activities to educate people from very young ages about technology, about space exploration. And obviously space exploration is something that's very big at our heart. Pear's a real astronaut. Obviously Pear and Sir Richard Branson are close friends. Pear will be one of the first astronauts on Virgin Galactic, trying to convince Gary to join as well. I'm too much of a baby to do that, but maybe I'll just watch from TV. But more importantly, seriously, if you want to talk about ground up, I would argue that people should read Ruth King's book. I mentioned this a number of times, Kyle, on other shows. It's called Mindful of Race. If you really want to understand and put yourself in another person's shoes in terms of the Black community as a white person, you really need to understand by working in their shoes. And Ruth has done a wonderful job. I've had her on some panels that we've done at the GRI Club in the real estate community on this. And it's really getting an understanding of the other side and then trying to implement those principles. Now, I could talk a lot from the 10,000 foot overview. Gary's doing it with his fund. But one other thing is it's about that education. It's also trying to not just talk about ESG if we're talking on a way rather just than race, we're talking a bigger thing. It's not about investing in an ESG fund. It's actually the fundamental analysis of each of those components, E, S, and G. And as a credit analyst for 35 years before going into banking and family office, that's what we do. We look at the environmental impact. What is the impact to the environment on that? And what's the associated liability? S, social responsibility. There was something called in the US many, many years ago, sin bonds. And they were the tobacco and alcohol companies. Many pension funds couldn't invest in them because they do harm. Okay, it's a similar type of stuff. So social responsible investing should be in everybody's toolkit. And then corporate governance. If the governance is poor, the company goes bankrupt. So ESG is not something that's just a new sexy topic. It has to be ingrained in the analysis of any investor. And then lastly, going to what Gary spoke about in terms of profitable investing. Look, I'm not paid to sit at a family office to be talking about philanthropic things. There's got to be an appropriate risk-adjusted return for the investment, whether it's green energy, diversity, inclusiveness, etc. The return must be there for the risk that's being taken. It has to be a profitable investment, whether it's green, whether it's diversity or inclusiveness. So I think it starts from the bottom up, as I mentioned, from education at the youngest levels, from truly practicing it and not relying on government or somebody else to do it. You have to have it as a mantra in your company and in your daily lives as a person. That's how I'd leave it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Peter. And you're spot on, not just your company, but yourself as well, right? Have that inside as you mentioned. Wendy, do you have anything to add on that? I saw you gave me a quick
I totally agree. Like with Peter, like really, if we're going to look at change happens solely from the ground up. I mean, we need the top, but when you look at the world, everyone in the world wants to help. You just really have to make it easy for them. And when I created Women's Entrepreneurship Day in 2013, it was after I spent time in a community in Honduras, which was the burger capital of the world, right? And they were giving microloans to these women. And I met like a half dozen of these women and I spent time with them. And I realized all the statistics that these women were getting these loans for $100. They were able to open up like the window in their one-room hut. They were able to sell Cokes and toothpaste that enabled them to put those kids through school, pay $1 a month. And when you look at the world, right, and you see the impact that these microloans are having, right, you could change the world from a ground up approach, but looking at the statistics all around from the ground up and the top down. And so one of the things, you know, that we do, and I do personally every year, is I fund 1,000 impoverished women with microloans to start their own businesses. And I have to say, you know, it's really cool. Like, for instance, in Botswana, there was a goat farmer, you know, that she, you know, she was part of our foundation's initiatives, and she got into Bitcoin literally, I think 5 years ago, and created the Satoshi Center. And this woman now is literally changing thousands and thousands of lives, which is empowering the entire community in this whole initiative that she's created from having that little bit of money given to her. And so, you know, as I say to people, you know, everyone can make a difference. You know, these $100 microloans, literally, you know, okay, you could give $25, you know, or $5. And there's so many organizations that literally are doing amazing work, from Grameen to Opportunity International to in Honduras, Adelante Foundation, that we can all look at, you know, what they're doing and how do we really bring these groups together and really make a bigger impact in the world and enable everyone to understand how important it is.
And a quick shout out, where can everyone find you in case you have to drop off here in a few minutes?
Oh yeah, sorry, I had to leave at 1 o'clock, so sorry. You can find me on wendydiamond.com, and you can see all the companies that I'm involved with. You could link, it goes right to Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization, and I'm always open to helping anyone in the world. Thank you so much. Everybody's doing a good thing and impacting the world. Thank you so much. Great seeing everyone. Thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Irina, big question for you here. Two-parter. Part one, anything to add as what's already been said from our panel thus far? But then part two, how does blockchain and crypto, whether that be decentralized finance or digital currencies as a whole, really open up a whole new world for business inclusion? And I'll turn it over to you, and then we'll come to closing thoughts for everybody.
Yeah, so I'll let me answer the first question. When I think about business inclusion, I think about kind of the roles that we assign to women. Often women are expected to be a marketing person or PR person, and often are not valued as a, let's say, strategic executive strategist and kind of a business executive leading roles. And so to me, business inclusion is that hire women outside of the roles that are biased assigned to them, right? So so it's not just the numbers, but actually roles. Diversify your team, not just by saying, okay, I have hired a woman, she's the executive marketing person. That's great, but are you really diversifying? That's one. And to do business with women. I think that business inclusion, and with other diversity as well, but do business with them, right? Because I think that that's very important part. One, we need to fund diversity, but two, in order for them to succeed in doing what they're doing, we actually need to do business with them and value them in an executive decision-making roles that are not only kind of assigned to, you know, creativity and whatever else, the bias that are out there when, you know, used that when we look at women. So that's the one addition, and that I'll leave it there. And the two, I think that blockchain and cryptocurrency most of all makes financial inclusion possible because it allows us to have an extensive transfer of funds. And so that's why we can do the microloans. I think to me, the fundraising aspect for that is kind of the biggest opportunity. And of course, the fact that, you know, you can actually be in a country where things are not quite stable and have this alternative now due to technology. To me, those are the two answers that would directly answer.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And thank you all. And I want to come around as we're coming to the top of the hour for closing thoughts, then also where you can be found online. So Gary, let's start with you. Thank you, Irina. Closing thoughts on today's subject, but then also where can everyone find you, GSD, and then also this upcoming fund that you're putting together?
Yes, so, you know, you can reach me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter, Gary Fowler. This is a great opportunity for each and every one of us to make a little dent in the universe. There are people all over the world that develop some incredible technologies that can be brought to market. We just got to go out there and mine them and find them. And we do that, we're going to make the world a better place. And a lot of these ideas about business inclusion are going to come true. So it's a matter of doing it, not just talking about it. So let's do it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary. Jose.
My closing thought goes to two small things. One is that it's not limited to the 45 million that want to kick off a startup every year. It's also about the 430 million permanent unemployed people all over the globe. And Mercedes-Benz trucks just made an announcement that in 2025, they're going to launch a fully self-driven truck to the market. And that means that what I've been saying here on these shows, that we are going to not only in the trucking area, but think also about shipping, think also about cab drivers, and in a lot of other areas that we have been talking about in these shows, also like agriculture as well. It means that a huge amount of people are going to get unemployed, are going to get on the market, and this will rise from 430 million up to 1 billion, as I've been saying. So I'm finishing here with a very important announcement. So we're going to launch in January the BizMoney TV show. It's about 100% about business inclusion. That means that we are targeting those people that are needed to understand what business inclusion is and how they are able to kick off. So what we explain is how they can do it and how they can enroll into a training program that they can follow up by themselves. And eventually they can also start and getting into this ecosystem that we are going to provide at the end of this year for all these hundreds of thousands of people that we are going to try to onboard in one shot. So that's my closing thoughts. And thank you for having this topic. And you can find me on LinkedIn under Jose Grasa, or just search up for BizMoney. And I'm an open networker, so reach out to me whenever you want.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jose. Lubna, to you. Quick closing thoughts. Where can you be found?
I would remind that the diversity, to the points my colleagues have made, especially Irina just a minute ago, to truly diversify, and what that means. Also and when we are when we're talking about enrollment, well, rather enablement rather than enrollment. So when we talk about investing in emerging markets or making these rolling into developing areas, we need to enable them to enable social entrepreneurship that has that preserves the indigenous wisdoms and works with it. So the ecosystems we enable to create rather than dictate, creating more of an elective-based society rather than a bounded ecosystem. For us, we are setting a fund that is taking a position of pass it forward. So it's a hybrid between a loan and a grant. And it's a bringing it back as an investor, as you're invested in, so that we can create this ripple effect value creation within the communities that we are engaging in. And I welcome any questions. I'm Lubna Dajani. You can find me here or anywhere else at Lubna Dajani.
Wonderful. Thank you. Irina.
Oh, goodness. Oh, I'm here, guys. My bad. Oh, video. Oh, goodness. You know, it happens. I don't know how, but it still happens. So my apologies. My closing thoughts is, I agree with Gary, just invest in diversity, hire diversity, and just get it done. You know, that's kind of my closing thoughts on that. Do business with women. for God's sake, and stop looking at them as a marketing and PR people. So anyhow, and of course, make sure that you look at the crypto world. There are a lot of interesting opportunities in that now. If you're not certain in how things are going with the world, maybe diversify yourself into, some crypto, whatever. I say Bitcoin, but whatever works for you works great, just as long as you dive into it. The reason I think is because then you're going to try to understand what this technology is. And again, reminder, single source of truth is going to change the way we live our lives. And it's a very important foundation, and the inclusion in that is just wrapped all around. And so best way to find me, go to VCTV and click on my profile and contact me from there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Irina. Peter, close us out. Closing thoughts. Where can you be found?
Thanks, Kyle. First of all, I'm always honored to be on such a panel with a distinguished group of guests. Kyle, you, Maria, and the whole VCTV LATOKEN community is really helping, particularly during this lockdown, to get the message out. Whether it's VC capital, whether it's what Jose is doing in terms of the 45 million people looking for startup capital, it's what Wendy's doing on a bigger scale basis for inclusion by women. It's what Gary's doing with his fund and what he's doing every day. The ability to get out to the global population on VCTV has never been more important than it is now. And the reach with the lockdown, getting leaders like the people on this panel to participate for an hour of their time to get the younger generation to see, and everybody's openness to reach out to them on LinkedIn or other places so that they can communicate. I'm sure everybody on this panel, as well as the other panels, will be more than happy to take a call or an email. And I think that's how you change the world one step at a time. Because as I mentioned, we can't rely on government. We've got to do it all at the personal level and as well as the corporate level as we are leaders. I could be reached at peterplout.com, weimerfamilyoffice.com, weimerfinancial.com, LinkedIn, Facebook. Reach out to me. Happy to introduce you to any of my contacts and help as best as I can, as well as my larger family office, including Pear.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Peter, Lubna, Gary, Jose, Irina, Wendy, and Brett. It's always a pleasure and honestly a dear big honor to start this year with each and every one of you here on VCTV, and an exciting year ahead for all of us. Happy New Year to each of you. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and insights. To your audience, if you like what you heard, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up, check out the archive, not just for more on today's episode, but also from all of our guests and all the episodes that we have from a variety of speakers and investors from around the world as they share their thoughts and insights around different technologies, industries, and regions as well around the world, and their on-the-ground perspective. Thank you, Jose, Irina, and Lubna as well. With that, Gary, thank you, and Peter as well. Do reach out if you're interested in continuing the conversation with any of our guests, and remember to add context when you do, where you heard them, where you met them, also where you would like to continue the conversation and what that might be about as well. And a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me and all of our guests online 24/7, 365. With that, we'll be back here tomorrow with more VCTV.